Obviously, when Google announced officially the full price of the Pixel Fold would be the mind-melting price of $1,800, everyone in attendance at Google I/O, as well as everyone in the live chat as we were here watching together, simultaneously cringed and felt a sudden pain shoot down their back and into the wallet that might have been in their back pocket. Who knows? That might have just been sciatica or something like that. It's a very, very expensive device, which granted, the Z Fold is equally as expensive and has at times been even more expensive than that. But still, there were rumors around before that price was officially unveiled that perhaps it would undercut the Z Fold, and then of course that ended up not happening. So because of that, there was sort of maybe a shock, a surprise to hearing that price. And because of that, a lot of people have said, and I actually ran a poll on this on my own YouTube channel on the community tab, which let me see if I can pull this up here very quickly. For those now not interested in buying the Pixel Fold, this was 12 days ago, right after the full announcement, 1,600 votes. Why are you no longer interested? The price was 60%, 58% of the vote was the price. And as you can see here, it's actually kind of hard to see because I have Dark Reader turned on. Let's do that. You can see that price was the absolute runaway victor of that poll. A lot of people have said, well, I'm not really interested at $1,800. And because of that, a lot of people have said not many people are going to be interested at $1,800 and that this thing is going to be an immediate failure. I've even seen the phrase dead on arrival thrown around in regard to the Pixel Fold. Now, this is something that I take slightly personally. If I'm joking a little bit, not really personally, but it's something I've seen before, right? With the Surface Duo. People for a year out when we knew the price, whenever they told us the price, they said, it's dead on arrival, it's DOA. And I push back against that for the same reasons I'm going to push back against this idea here and now for the Pixel Fold. And it's really simple. In order to call something dead on arrival, to call something effectively a failure, you have to know what the goals were. You have to know what Google intended to do, what Microsoft in that older instance intended to do. If Google only intends to sell like a few thousand phones, they're going to do that. And then maybe internally they would say, this was a success. We did exactly what we set out to do. And in that case, you can't call it dead on arrival. Now, if their plans with the Pixel Fold are to outsell the next iPhone, well, then yes, it is in fact dead on arrival. It will never accomplish that goal. Now, what can we do, though, to try and suss out what Google's goals with the Pixel Fold are? Well, honestly, there's not a whole lot that we can do. But one thing we can do is we can go to store.google.com. We can look at the listing of the Pixel Fold, and this does look weird because I just turned Dark Reader back on because bright white screens are offensive to my senses. We can pick between two colors, porcelain and obsidian. You'll notice here that with the obsidian, the 512GB is out of stock. With porcelain, I don't know if that just never was an option. I don't actually remember, but it's not even there as an option. We'll pick that storage option. We'll scroll down and then we give it our zip code and we see a delivery date, August the 2nd to August the 10th. Let's go back up and let's pick Obsidian 256, June 27th to July the 3rd. So what does this mean? Well, when you Google search release date for Pixel Fold, the only information I can find is that it is releasing on Verizon on June the 27th. So the Obsidian version in 256 is still available to be received pretty much right at launch. The 512GB version is completely out of stock and they're not even taking orders on it anymore. You can join a wait list. The porcelain model, if you buy it, you're not going to get one, not June 27th, not July 27th, but actually all the way into August. So you would imagine it's close to being in the same spot as the Obsidian 512GB version in that it is almost sold out. You're going to have to wait a full month before you're going to get that thing past everyone else. So what does this indicate to me? To me, I think it's pretty obvious. Of the Pixel Folds that Google was intending to sell, they appear to be selling most of them fairly well. The Obsidian version is the only one that isn't pushed way out into time, which means it's the only one that they haven't almost sold out of. That would be my speculation based on what's in front of me. Now, we got to keep something in mind, though. We don't know how many that is because, again, we don't know what their goals were. How many did they have waiting to be accepting pre-orders on? Was it a very small number or a very large number? I think it's quite likely that Google is just being intelligent here. They didn't make 1 million Pixel Folds and say, we're going to sell all of these in a week. They probably made a very small number of them, expecting a small number of orders, and they have gotten orders that are probably right on target with what they expected to sell. I doubt that any of these numbers they're getting have been shocking to Google. So if the question is the Pixel Fold selling? Are people buying it? With the framing being, how many did Google make to be purchased? The answer is unequivocally yes. That is what all the data points towards. Again, I don't think we're going to see as many Pixel Folds sold as there were probably Z Fold 2s, right? Like, this thing is not going to sell anywhere near as well as the Z Folds already are, but I don't think Google thought that they would, and that kind of should clue you in on what they're aiming to do with the Pixel Fold. They're dipping their toes in the water here. It almost kind of reminds me in my head of what the Pixel line used to be. If you remember when the Pixel line first came out, it was almost sort of seen as this device that Google didn't really intend to sell that many of, but they intended it to almost be like the beacon on the shore to guide the other OEMs in terms of what Android should be. It didn't really matter to them if they didn't sell that many of them. But then it felt like as time went on with the A series and then this sort of soft relaunch starting with the Pixel 6, the lower prices, hey, we're going to try to really sell these Pixels. And guess what? The Pixel 7 is the best-selling, mainline Pixel devices of all time. The Pixel Fold feels more like the Pixel 1 and the Pixel 2 in that this is Google saying, hey, this is what we think a foldable should look like on Android. And that makes sense because there's only one other foldable that can be purchased in the United States in that regard. There are some other Chinese OEMs, but even still, if you factor them in, there's only a handful of these devices available on the market, period. So maybe Google at this point thought it made sense to make a super premium device like this to serve as that beacon once more to help guide this new fledgling sector in the product market, much the way they felt like they did with the original Pixels. Just something that's bumping around in my head, a way to sort of frame this. So guys, if you want to see more content like this, subscribe so you don't miss out on more of it. Of course, I have my device pre-ordered. I should have it right at launch, so you're not going to want to miss out on that coverage, guys. I will see you on the next one, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.